So today is the first day of the jury's deliberation of finding out if Diddy's going to be guilty or not guilty. So they was in deliberating all day, and now it's 5:38 p.m. and they was sent home. And listen, there was some interesting things happened today. It seemed like there was a juror that kind of confused or something like that. I don't know, and I don't know if this is a coincidence or what. But let's look at a news clip and go from there. Let's get into it.
Jury deliberations are happening now in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The judge in the case gave the jury its instructions this morning. The prosecution and defense gave their closing arguments last week following 7 weeks of testimony. Combs, who has denied the allegations against him, is facing 15 years to life in prison if convicted. CBS News national correspondent Jerika Duncan has been following this trial from the beginning and joins us now from outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Jerika, it's great to see you. We have a bit of a development regarding one of the jurors. What happened?
We heard that the juror number 25 is actually having questions about how to sort of take all of this information in that they were given for over 2.5 hours and apply it to those charges. Behind me right now, though, I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. This is the Combs family in this Sprinter. They're going to be getting out in a few moments, but they left during the break. They've been here. I don't know if you can see this woman right here is Nicole Westmoreland, one of the defense attorneys. It looks like we've got a bus that's coming through, so you won't be able to see them, but wanted to press or make sure that we acknowledge that as it's happening live. But as far as that juror is concerned, this is why we have alternates, because if there is a problem, and even the judge mentioned this, we still want our 6 to be nearby. You have to be ready at any moment to become an alternate, even at this crucial moment. And the next person up would be juror number 234. I was looking for some information that we have on that, Meg, and that juror number 234, if the juror is replaced for any particular reason, it's a mother who used to work in security for office buildings at a number of places. None were listed on her sheet. She had seen the Combs case prior to becoming a juror as part of this federal trial. But let's go back a little bit, because the jurors were given a number of instructions, and this is a very complicated statute in of itself. A lot of attorneys talk about that. You're talking about a racketeering conspiracy case where the prosecutor said Combs led a criminal enterprise, and within that, they only have to find the jurors that he committed 2 of 8 acts. Some of them include arson and bribery and sex trafficking, prostitution and things of that nature. But this is interesting that so early on, they haven't even been deliberating for 3 hours yet, and already there's a question about just understanding the instructions.
I mean, listen, they had so much pages that they had to go through, you know what I'm saying, and really understand. Like, these jurors are not lawyers, you know what I'm saying? They're like everyday people. So all these laws and stuff like that. And you got to remember, this guy might be sentenced to the rest of his life in prison. You know what I'm saying? So they really got to understand and send notes out to the defense and the prosecutors to like, yo, I have a question and stuff to really understand this. So I kind of can understand that some of the jurors like not really understanding some of these laws and stuff like that. So it's kind of not surprising to me. So even doing the jury's doing deliberation, they've been sending out notes and stuff like that. Let's look at this news clip right quick.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm your host, Sierra Gillespie, bringing you Law and Crime's live coverage of the P. Diddy trial. You guys, we are in the final countdown. We could have a verdict as early as today. That's right. We're already in deliberations. And by the way, thank you, everyone who's.
So this video right here is earlier today. So I'm making this video after, you know what I'm saying, the jury already got sent home and stuff like that. So a verdict hasn't been reached yet. I'm just playing earlier videos of today, like what was going on.
Been watching our live stream so far. I know we have people from all over the world. You guys have been following all day, so you of course know that there recently was a question from jurors. We're not even quite 2 hours into deliberations, and they already had a question. So Jesse Weber kind of left you on a cliffhanger, and I'm going to tell you what it's all about. Here's an update from the courthouse right behind me, because by the way, I'm live in the Southern District of New York. So here's what happens. Now, the judge says we have received a note from the jury that we have a juror, specifically juror 25, who we believe cannot follow your instructions. I would like to meet with the court about it. So the judge says, I suggest asking for more information. So that's kind of crazy, you guys. I mean, this morning we reported about jury instructions, right? This is so important going into deliberations almost 2 hours in, and it sounds like one of these jurors, juror number 25, says they might not be able to follow the instructions, which is the most important thing we have here. Whew, I got a lot of questions, and I want to break down the jury too. So let's do that quick before we get to our all-star panel of guests, who, by the way, I'm going to have a lot of good questions for them. And if you guys have questions, throw them into our chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. So here's the breakdown of the jury as of right now. Okay, this could be changing. Who's to say? I'm not going to report anything we don't know yet. But here's what we've got. So a male, an investment analyst. He's 31 years old. Okay, so am I. So right around my age, my contemporary. And that's what it's supposed to be, right? A jury.
So let's count how many males they got on there. And I want to say that because this is very interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they got 7 males. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 males and 5 women on the stand. Some young, middle age, and some older. Interesting.
Of P. Diddy's peers, okay? Another male, he is a scientist, age 51. So already we've got a pretty educated jury. On to another member, a male social worker, age 39. Another male architect, 57. I believe we've talked about him specifically, the architect, the newer juror who replaced juror number 6, because of course we all remember when that debacle happened. Another man, we've got a male heavy jury here. He is a field technician, age 68. Another man, logistics analyst, age 67. So I guess that kind of shows the range in the age of these jurors too. Another male, he's now retired though, age 68, formerly in finance. Then onto the female side of the jury, okay? This one is 30 years old. She's a deli clerk. Another female, dietary aide, age 42. Okay. The next, female, a treatment coordinator, age 74, which again shows the diversity we have here, especially in the ages of these jurors. 43 years old is the next juror, a female. She's a physician's assistant. And then the final one rounds us out, age 69, massage therapist. So you can just kind of see there the diversity that we have here in the jury. And by the way, I do have more updates about that note. I promise we will get to our panel in a minute. But here's what we have live from the courthouse behind me. This is AUSA Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor for the government. She says, may we have a moment to digest what Your Honor has proposed. This is very sensitive. Then Mark Agnifilo for the defense, he replies and says, I suggest we just tell them it is early. You are just getting started. If there is a further issue, please let us know. Comey then replies and says, if we go that route, we suggest instructing the jurors it is important not to include any information about what is going on in the jury room. We are looking at U.S. versus Baker 262. So she's talking about a very specific citing something that has to do with all of this. Whoa, this is pretty heavy, you guys. Not to quote Marty McFly or Doc Brown here, but this is getting heavy. And I got to bring in our all-star panel of guests to break it all down with me, okay? So we have criminal defense attorney Mauricio Padilla, who's been a favorite on our live stream. And then, of course, criminal defense attorney Brian McMonigal. Thank you so much, both of you, for sticking with us. And Brian, I've got to ask you right away, what are you making of this jury note or question?
It's stunning. This early for there to be a note of that nature is stunning. They just began deliberating. And the indication is, at least from the foreman, that one of the jurors has just basically said, I'm not cooperating. We've had situations like that here in Philadelphia, and jurors have been replaced.
You know, my thing is like, why is it happening now? Like, why is that juror seem like he's kind of confused or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And like I said in the beginning of the video, that it is a lot of jargon that they really have to understand to really charge Diddy Combs, you know what I'm saying, or the charge that he's being charged on. I'm just kind of surprised, like, why is it now like this jury seem confused on things? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like fishy a little bit, in my opinion, you know what I mean? But then again, it's like, if the jury can't really decide or understand, then they already got an alternate to replace the jury fast. So it really doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Because the other jurors who's alternate was already in the courtroom and following the case as well. I'm just kind of surprised about that.
for that very reason, where they've been unwilling to deliberate with their fellow jurors, where they're unwilling to listen to instructions. I know we're getting a little bit down the road on this, but if in fact that is the case and the judge becomes concerned, he has the ability to bring the jury in one by one and voir dire each and every one of them about what this juror has done, and the juror themselves to ask questions about it. We're not there yet. It looks like both sides don't want to get to that point, but that's how this ends. This problem continues, which with voir dire and the possibility, not the probability, but the possibility that a juror could be replaced with an alternate. So this is stunning for me.
I think stunning is a great word for it. It's not something that we've expected. I mean, you guys, you viewers can look at the clock that we have here. We're not even at 2 hours yet into deliberations, and already something so stark such as this. I do have another small update right now. The judge says to both sides, and he's telling them, confer on a response. I'll stay here. So kind of, you two discuss. Mauricio, I've got to ask you, what does this mean? What are your thoughts?
They're fighting, and they're fighting early on. They're fighting. They're not even fighting about the decision. They're fighting about how they're going to come up to the decision. So I think that when you read into the question, I think what the question's highlighting is a power play that's going on. So one person is not getting along with another person. Maybe the fourth person has a problem with another person, and now he's saying, you're not following the rules given to us by the court. But when I hear that question, for me, it highlights that there's personality issues at play, and that they're fighting. So let's see what happens. But shocking that it's happening so quickly. And imagine it's not. It would foreshadow that this is going to be a long, drawn-out deliberation. That they've come up with that question only 2 hours in.
And I mean, the jury is so important, right? They're so paramount into all of this. And as you were talking, Mauricio, I was thinking the same thing. Like, if they're already arguing about all of this, we're looking at a long deliberation time, which, by the way, I am hosting live from the field, so I don't have a projection of like what we're seeing. So I do want to say that our note, I think I said we weren't quite at 2 hours yet. It looks like we're at 2 hours and 2 minutes, at least in the last minute, as far as the jury clock, or the deliberation clock, rather. It's being kind of funky, but that's kind of where we're at. So 2 hours, either way, pretty early. Now, I got to get to some of our viewer questions that we have for you guys, because a lot of you have provided us with some really stellar questions. So I'm going to start with this one for you, Brian. This is A Fly Guy says, a question for the panel. Is the jury in a federal trial exposed to the gallery where those people could see them, or are they somewhat secluded? And I believe I have a general answer to this. I haven't been inside the courtroom, but we do have our Elizabeth Milner, who's been in, talked to us about how the jurors are responding to things specifically like those freak off videos. Were they hiding their faces? What were they doing? So what is your answer to this, Brian? Can they see the gallery and kind of interact in a way?
Well, in every trial I've ever had, the jury can see the gallery. They can see the entire courtroom, and the entire courtroom can see them. I know that there are issues in this case where they have kind of blocked off things for one reason or another. But the simple answer is yes, they're supposed to be able to see the gallery. It is a public courtroom, and it should be open, and it should be a situation where everybody can see everybody.
And I mean, that is the beauty of America. These are public courthouses. So if you are watching right now and you want to come see the Diddy trial, I mean, they are in deliberation, so they're a bit more secluded then, but you're allowed to just come down to this courthouse here in southern Manhattan, walk in and go. I mean, that's really all you need. Now, for a case like P. Diddy, obviously there's a bigger list, there's media credentials and things that go into it, but that's really what it is. And it's only kind of different in the federal system that we don't get cameras because it is federal. In some states, we can live stream the court. I mean, I know a lot of you law and crime viewers have seen all of that. So it is interesting. Now, on to another question that we have from one of our viewers, Navy Mom FL, I'm guessing Florida, 7294. This one's going for you, Mauricio, because I know you have a history with Florida. So maybe this question doesn't have anything to do with Florida, but hey, I'm connecting you two. Now, she says, Law and Crime Network, what are the odds jury tampering occurred? And did Diddy somehow pay off a juror? Sounds like a movie, but movies are based on reality. I mean, anything's possible in this case, Mauricio. What do you think about jury tampering?
Hey, that's a good question right there. You know, and I said that beginning, like it sounds a little fishy, like this long time that the jurors was in, you know, to listen to everything, and now they go on deliberation, and now it seems like there's a juror that seems confused about everything. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, seems a little fishy, but I don't know if Diddy trying to pay these people off or not, man. I don't know, but then again, he could be spending the rest of his life in jail. So if you was in that position, what would you do? You would be in there. What would you do? You know what I'm saying? This is crazy, man.
Well, listen, anything's possible, but I think it's a stretch to read that into the note that was just published from the jury. They're just saying that there's a juror that refuses to abide by the rules given to them by the court. It's a little bit of a stretch to now imply that P. Diddy bought a juror, but I mean, the way that he's conducted himself, not only historically, but ever since his incarceration, it wouldn't be something that I don't think anybody would be shocked at. Because he seems to be such a controlling individual. He seems to be the type of guy that thinks that he can control anything, including a federal trial, including jurors. So I wouldn't be shocked if something like that comes out eventually, especially since I remember in this case they had him on the jail phone talking to people and trying to influence certain people. I know that he tried social media to try and influence certain chunks of the population with his social media presence. So I wouldn't be shocked, but it is a stretch to read that into the note that was published.
And now I do have a real-time update for all of you. Thank you, by the way, to our producers who are working tirelessly on this live stream to bring you the updates. Juliana, Jordan, Alex, Nick, so many people are going into making this possible. So keep sending us questions and shout outs for those people. I love to say it. Okay, so here's an update that we have about juror number 25, right? The juror in question who says they may not be able to follow the directions, the jury instructions. So here's what we know. According to NBC, I do want to cite that. Juror number 25, a 51-year-old male from Manhattan who has a PhD in molecular biology and neuroscience, so got the credentials there. He listens to classical music and opera, and his hobbies include art, science, cooking, and the outdoors.
It sounds like one of them bald head white guys, because it's like four bald white guys on the jury. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to play too much into it, but then again, it's like it sounds like one of those guys, man, one of them bald head guys. It's crazy.
Okay, so now that we know a bit more about that juror, Ryan, does it make any more sense why this person would have any sort of problem following these instructions? He's clearly an educated person who should be able to follow them. Do you think it's more of a moral or ethical issue?
It makes absolutely no sense to me based on the individual that you've just described, if in fact that is the individual who, according to the foreman, is creating the problem. But, people are, as Mauricio will tell you, everybody's different. Everybody reacts to things differently. Everybody's got their own personalities. There may be significant personality conflicts. You may have the foreperson being of one personality, the individual in question of another, and they're just colliding. And you see that a lot with juries. You just don't see that kind of question this quickly. Usually you get that kind of a question 2 days after deliberations, where everybody's been banging their heads and they can't have a meeting of the minds, and somebody goes and sits in a corner. You never have it 2 hours in. So there's a significant issue here where somebody has angered somebody else, or basically decided that they're just not going to communicate in some fashion, which is a real danger for the prosecution.
It sounds like things are fiery. I mean, I'm here in Manhattan. I have my fan. This is my third fan. I have two more here. So things are hot outside, and it sounds like things are hot inside too. I mean, it's this soon. What you're saying, Brian, this soon we have somebody who's stirring the pot in this way. I mean, I don't know, things are fiery. And again, I did describe juror number 25. I talked about, his history, all of that. That is from NBC. I do want to cite that and report that because we're still early on in as far as our reporting about this specific juror. So I gotta make sure to cite them and all of that. Now, we do have another person who wrote in asking about this question. And I guess this just goes to show we've been live streaming all day. We keep bringing you guys the updates. It's a bit out of date now, but I do still want to shout her out. Her name is Emily Atelier, I believe. She says, hey, what could this potential note from the jury be, which we, of course, now do know? What would be the question you would want to know this soon in deliberation? And I just had to shout her out. We, of course, now know what it is, so we'll discuss that. But she says, love the show. Thank you for your amazing coverage on this trial. So thank you so much, Emily, for watching. And any of you who have questions, again, keep dropping them down. Now, here's another viewer question we have. Can you ask the panel about their experience on working with jury consultants? Have either of you worked with the brilliant Linda Moreno, who's Diddy's jury consultant before? Mauricio, I'm going to toss that one to you. What do you make of jury consultants, which obviously are very important considering the jury is very important?
But I have worked with various jury consultants. I think they're important. If you have to get the right fit for the right case, and nowadays there's consultants that really use social media, and they while you're doing voir dire and you have your co-counsel, there's consultants that are right there on the spot researching to give you a better idea of who the juror is when taking into consideration their social media profile and their whatever digital footprint they've left out there, so you have an idea of politically where they stand. So nowadays consultants that actually use that type of technology can really assist you like never before. So this is a whole new time for trial attorneys to take advantage of the fact that people's lives, their opinions, their mindset, all of it is public information many times that you could find and you could use to your advantage. And at the end of the day, picking a jury is the most stressful part of a trial. Why? Because trial attorneys know that you make a mistake there, you're going to lose. So regardless of what you did during the trial, if you made a mistake and you got that wrong juror on the jury, all of it was for nothing. The 8, 9, 10 weeks, and I've seen it play out in front of my face to my detriment and to my favor. So I've been around long enough to see it, work in both ways.
I mean, the stakes here are really high. The jury is of the utmost importance in all of this. And like I said, Diddy faces life in prison. That's why this is so important for the jury and this jury issue for it to get solved, which, by the way, we're going to stay on.
Yeah, man, this whole situation is crazy. I don't know if it's going to be a mistrial, maybe. I'm not sure. That might be a stretch right there. But we have a juror right now, seem confused, don't know what do you want to do. But how she explained it, who he is, his background, he seemed pretty smart. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, out of like, what, 7, 8 weeks now? And now it's deliberation. Now you seem confused on how to read instructions? Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. So there was no verdict today. You know what I'm saying? That was earlier today. This video I just played, it was earlier today, 2 hours in. We had a juror seem confused on stuff like that. So tomorrow is going to be Tuesday. And listen, we might get a verdict tomorrow. We might get it early, or we might get in the afternoon. I'm not sure. Then again, like I said before, man, I'm still 50-50 on this guy going to be guilty. Now, he might be guilty on the prostitution. I think he might be guilty on that. Other stuff, the real RICO and sex trafficking, that he could spend the rest of his life in jail, 15, 20 years. I'm not sure on that. You know what I'm saying? But we have a juror like this right here seem confused. Yo, this is wild, man. But listen, that's all I got for now. Listen, y'all tell me what y'all think about the whole situation, yo, with this juror right here seem confused and stuff. Y'all think it might be a mistrial? Somebody paid the juror off to seem confused or whatever? I don't know, but y'all let me know in the comments, man, what y'all think.